Hi, it's Lauren Marie Fleming, and I'm here to talk about the most effective types of journaling, plus when and how to use them. Now, when I say effective here, I mean these are the techniques and the types of journaling that work the most to help you go from where you are now to where you want to be. That can be in your career, that can be in your love life, that can be in your emotional current state. Whatever you are now, visualizing where you want to be headed, what you want to be doing, and what it will look and feel like when you're there. So that's what these effective types of journaling will help you do. Those types of journaling are free flow, mantras and repetitions, need, want, can't lists, flowcharts and diagrams, visioning and sketching, and word clouds. Now, obviously, there are hundreds and hundreds of different ways in which you can journal, and every single one of these types of journaling I can and have in my Journal Through It course broken down different ways to do each one. But today we're going to do kind of an overall of these core journaling types that help you go from where you are now to where you want to be. So let's start with the first one, free flow. Free flow is basically writing whatever comes to your mind without thinking about the quality of your writing or what you're really writing or even making sentences. The goal is simply just to get it out of your head and onto paper. And oftentimes you don't even go back and look at your free flow. It's just like a vomiting almost of what you're thinking. Free flow is great for brain dumps, like I was just saying, any kind of venting you're feeling, if you're angry or frustrated. If you're feeling really overwhelmed, free flow is a place to get that out. It's also a great place for the beginning of an idea. So if you have this thing that you think that you want to do, but you're not quite sure how it would go, that's a great way to use free flow. Whenever I'm creatively blocked, when I'm trying to write something and I can't get through writer's block, I do free flow. I just write whatever I think about something else or what might be blocking me. It's a great way to start a story. So most of my books start with free flow. Wouldn't it be cool if I wrote a memoir all about my sex life? And that started the free flow that turned into my memoir. And it's also a really great therapy when I can't actually get in and digest with my therapist. It's a way for me to kind of get out what I would say in therapy on paper. And I oftentimes bring it to therapy after that. And it's, again, on that note, a really great way to kind of release painful thoughts. So when I'm triggered or when I'm upset or when my depression is acting up, free flow is a great place for me to put that. Just a warning, it is very important to use this as a supplement to therapy, not instead of therapy. Sometimes bringing up painful thoughts and releasing painful thoughts and free flow can really bring up a lot in you. So it's very important to use this supplementing therapy, not instead of therapy. Now, here are some examples of free flow. It is literally just free flow looks like this, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't thinking when I wrote this. I just wrote down whatever was coming to my mind. And I find that this works really well when I'm handwriting it. It also works well typing. This is one of the ways that I say that you can type it. I usually suggest writing, but free flow typing is one of the styles that actually works just as effectively as writing because you're just trying to get it out of your head. You're not really trying to remember it. You're not really trying to process it. You're just getting it out. Another great way to use free flow is the voice app on your phone. Sometimes my free flow isn't even writing. Sometimes I'm just vomiting whatever I'm feeling or frustrated about or an idea that I've had or a book idea or a scene idea that I want to write about. I just open the voice app on my phone and just say everything I'm thinking about, just like a flow of thoughts. And sometimes I listen to it again. Sometimes it's just a way to get that thought out. So free flow is simply just getting what's in your head out onto paper. Now, how do you do it? My favorite way to free flow is to set a timer for 30 minutes and write down everything I'm thinking during that time. I don't edit it and I don't read it when I'm done. Now, I usually only do 30 minutes because I personally like to take the next 30 minutes. So I have a full hour of writing, but the next 30 minutes after that free flow is when I kind of reflect on what I just said. Any epiphanies that I had, any feelings that came up that I wasn't sure that were there, any kind of conclusions that I might make, I take the next 30 minutes and do that. But if you're just stuck and you want to just free flow and get it out of you for a whole hour or 5 hours or 15 days, that's great. Whatever works for you, do it time-wise. But I also have seen people free flow that they're going to only do like 1 whole page or 3 pages. They're just going to free flow for 3 pages. So again, whatever works for you, it's all about finding the style and the technique that is best for you. The next type of journaling is mantras and repetition. And it is literally just writing the same thing over and over again, a little like detention was in junior high, but with less of the pain and punishment attached to it. And the goal of this is to solidify something into your head. And it's also, I find, very meditative, and mantras are meditative, and there are a lot of spiritual mantras out there that you can find, that you can write over again. Many people believe that certain mantras can open you up to like the spirituality world around you, can help you connect to God, can help you connect to yourself, can make you believe something that you wouldn't otherwise believe. So all throughout history, spiritual practices have included mantras, and different types of self-help have included repetition. So the idea is that you want to really solidify it into your head, literally carve it into your brain pathways. Which means you really want to use mantras and repetition for those bad self-esteem days. These are really great when you're just being hard on yourself and you can't get that noise out of your head that says you're unworthy, or you're never going to succeed, or no one will ever love you, or your body is horrible, your ideas are stupid. Those days when that negative self-talk just won't stop and your inner critic won't shut up, those are the perfect days for mantras and repetition. They're also great for stress and anxiety. Like I was talking about earlier, I use this as a form of meditation. I've never been good at just sitting still and clearing my mind. And I always felt like I had failed at meditation because I couldn't just sit still and clear my mind. But once I started doing writing meditations, so these like repetitious mantra, I found that it's not that I couldn't clear my mind per se, but it's that I needed something to like put in the place there. So yeah, my mind isn't completely clear, but that same Zen-like feeling you get from writing something over and over again and having that be the only thing that you're thinking about. I feel like it's a great way to boost your confidence, and it's really great reminders to yourself. So here's what a mantra looks like. Really simple. This is the mantra that I chose to do here. Expand, grow, don't shrink away. And I use this mantra for when I'm personally feeling like I take up too much space in the world, or I feel like I want to kind of shrink into myself, or somebody's beat on me for taking up too much room, or being too big, too fat, too loud, too boisterous, trying too much, wanting too much. So I remind myself that I want to grow and I want to expand and I don't want to shrink away. And so on those days, I write expand, grow, don't shrink away over and over again. And this is a really great mantra for me to remind myself that I am allowed to be like a redwood, set roots, grow big, not shrink away. So how do you do mantras and repetitions? Well, you choose a saying or phrase that you want to carve into your brain. And I say carve into your brain because studies show that when you physically write something down, you're actually making pathways in your brain. So your neurological pathways are changing. So if you are used to the repetition of body hate, which unfortunately so many of us are, because whether you realize it or not, you're getting that repetition through media, through advertising, through everything going on in your life, that you're not good enough, or that you have to make more money, or that you're never going to make enough money, or that you're never going to be successful, or that you're too fat, or that you're too much. All of these things, especially those of us that are in marginalized communities, see this a lot. Sit down, shut up, mind your own business, don't rock the boat. So if you take a phrase and try to carve the opposite of that into your brain, you're literally making those neurological pathways change. You're changing the way in which your brain functions and thinks. And that can lead to major changes in boosting your self-worth and feeling worthy of things, in your stress level and your anxiety and so much. So what you want to do is you want to be conscious of what you're going to carve into your brain, what pathways you want to create. And this is exciting. You're creating pathways in your brain. So choose wisely, choose what you want to carve into your brain. So then the goal is to repeat that phrase that you've chosen over and over again until you either fill up your chosen space or you run out of a chosen time period. So for example, I like to pick a computer sheet blank piece of paper and write it over and over again. And if I get to the end of the front and I still feel insecure, I flip it over and do the other side. I also have set a timer for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever I need that day. And I do the mantra or the repetition for that set of time. So I find that it's good to kind of set yourself up in a space that you check in with yourself when you're done. So after 5 minutes, if I'm still not done, I can add 5 more minutes. Or after a single page, if I'm not done, I can add another page. But I like to have that limit because it can sometimes feel like you don't know when to stop, or you don't know when to reflect, or you don't know when you're done, and you may end early or you may end too late. So it's good to kind of pick something in between that you can check in and see, do I still need this? Do I want to keep going? And you can always add more at the end. So what do you write? Well, here are some mantras and repetitions that I really love to use, and I've shared with you all before, but I want to remind you that these are available for you to use. This one you may recognize from my book, Body Love, 10 Steps to Profoundly Loving Your Body. This is also the Body Love Manifesto. I am worthy of love as I am right now, right here, no exceptions. I emphasize no exceptions because your brain will start coming up with all the reasons you are not worthy of love as you are right now, right here. Even when I'm writing, my brain comes up with that. So I love to write that no exceptions at the end to remind my brain that nope, there are no exceptions. I am worthy of love as I am right now, right here, no exceptions. This too shall pass. It's always been one that's really helped me through hard times. So every time that you're in right now, it passes. This too shall pass. So it just reminds me that everything is cyclical and that everything will come and go. The next one is trust my gut, trust myself, trust my instincts. And this is a really important one to me when I start to look at other people and be like, well, they're doing this. Maybe that's what I should be doing. Or maybe I should be dating somebody that's like this because everyone says that would be good for me. Or I don't know what's wrong with me. Why am I not feeling good? I remind myself that I know and that I need to trust myself, trust my gut, and trust my instincts. My instincts are always spot on if I trust them and give them space. So this is always a good one for me to practice. This is another one from the Body Love Manifesto. Thriving is my birthright. So when I start to feel like I'm being selfish, or I start to feel like I don't deserve joy or pleasure or happiness, I remind myself that thriving is my birthright. This is a great one that's a slight change of a great Dumbledore quote from the last Harry Potter book. And it's, just because it's in my head doesn't mean it's not real. I have a lot of anxiety and depression, and I have borderline personality disorder. And so oftentimes things feel real in my head when they may not be real in the world. But this is my way of reminding me that just because it's happening in my head, just because it's part of my mental illness, doesn't mean that it's not real for me. Doesn't mean that that it can't feel real. Doesn't mean that it's not valid for me to work through and talk about. This is also a really great one that I used when my brother died, and I felt like I was talking to him all the time, and I felt like I was going crazy because it felt like my brother was in the room with me, and I would have long conversations with him. And this is what my sister and I would tell each other when we'd wake up and we'd be like, it's crazy, but I feel like I had a conversation with Andrew last night. And we would tell each other, hey, just because it's in my head doesn't mean it's not real. So this is a really great mantra for that one. And then my favorite, yes, thank you, more please. I love this. It allows me to feel like I want more please. It gives me gratitude. I am saying yes, thank you, and more. These are things that I love. Please. This is just a great mantra. And it's based on a movie called Happy Thank You More Please. And if you have a chance, you should go see that. Our next journaling type is a need, want, or can't list. And this is something that you've probably seen me talk about a lot because I love need, want, can't lists. I came up with them for my book, Body Love, 10 Steps to Profoundly Loving Your Body. And I use them in every single aspect of my life. They're really great. And I love them because they're simple. All they are is a 3-column list with need, want, and can't at the top of those 3 columns. And the goal is to prioritize your life and understand your needs. So these are great for the start of a project or the beginning of a period in your life. So a new city, what do you need from this move? If you start a job, what do you need from this job? What can you not have from this job? This is great even before you start a job if you're starting to look for a new job. What do you need, want, and can't have in a new job? If your relationship is dissatisfying, or if you're dissatisfied in your life or your career, this is a great way to understand, like, what are your needs that are there? Where do they exist? And how are they not getting met? It helps you visualize your needs and get them met. And it really helps you organize your life and your to-do list. So how do you make it? Well, a need, want, can't list is super simple, which is one of the reasons I just love it, because I can create this on the go anywhere. It's super easy. You could put doodles in each column. You don't have to write. So it's really flexible and really easy to do. An example is my need is to write. My want is to publish a YA novel, and my can't is to copy edit myself. So I have this list. And so what this does is it reminds me that what I need to do is I need to write. That's the thing that I need to do. Maybe today I can't work on that YA novel. At some point, I'd like to prioritize it, but today the need is to simply write. And then when I'm doing all this writing, I have to remember that I can't be the copy editor myself. I need to go out and get somebody else to make sure that I didn't miss then and then, and that I have a comma in the right place, and I didn't misuse semicolons. I need somebody else to kind of hold me accountable to those little details. Because if I focus on those little details myself, I'll never do that need, which is to write. I'll worry so much about all that little editing that I won't do the thing that I need to do. So when I look at a need, want, can't list across the board like that, I can set up my priorities. So if I find myself spending my whole time copy editing, making sure this comma is in the exact right place, I can say, nope, that's not a need. Today, I just need to write. And so you can do that with like more emotional things as well. So my need is to eat food without judgment. I was on a diet for a really long time, and any of you that have read my book, Body Love, know now that I just refuse to have any kind of judgment on food when I eat it. It doesn't work for me. I don't believe in judging food choices, so I need no food policing. And I want to have delicious meals. So sometimes I'm not going to be able to have the most delicious meal ever. And I don't want to judge myself for whether or not I just like had a handful of almonds and that was what got me through this hour, or whether or not I made this gourmet meal. Yes, I'd love to have every one of my meals be absolutely delicious, but sometimes that's not possible. So if today all I can do is eat the food without judgment, the want is to have the delicious meals that can come later. That can be a priority another day. What I can't have, though, is that my stomach hurting me. I have a lot of food sensitivities. So I want to eat my food without judgment, and I want to have delicious meals, but I also can't have my stomach hurting me. So that's how it can work kind of more in more emotionally charged situations, or more basic life, everyday understanding. So this is also a great way to understand your budget. So say you need to make $35,000 a year to pay your bills. You need that. That is what your base level is. Understanding what your base level is really good when you're going to look at your finances. Are you in a job that pays you less than that, so you're struggling? Are you in a job that pays you a lot more than that, but you hate it? Can you back down? Can you take less hours? Can you afford to take a pay cut to follow something else? Your want may be to make $100,000 a year, and that's amazing. If that's your want and you want to do that and you want to make that money, go for it. But it's not your need. So understanding the difference between your want and your need there can help you to budget, especially when you're looking at new jobs. And then your can't is, I can't work more than 40 hours a week, or I can't make less than this amount, or I can't have a job where there's like a volatile environment. Whatever your can't is, this is a really great way, especially when you're entering the job market or you're thinking about switching careers, to understand, okay, what can I afford, what would be great, and what can I not have, and really go from there. So to create a need, want, can't list is super easy. You just create 3 columns and you write need, want, and can't on the top of them. And remember that your needs are absolute yeses. So I have to have this. So it'll be a small amount. And your can'ts are absolute no's. And that should actually be really large. You should set a lot of boundaries. Like, this is an absolute no that I can't have. Don't be afraid to say absolute no's. You deserve to set boundaries as much as you deserve to say your absolute yeses. Your want list will be pretty big. So there's a lot in there that you can want. Try to limit it to the things that really matter to you. So you don't want to I want to own a villa in Italy for the rest of my life. Yeah, that is a want, but it's not a current situation at which I'm anywhere close to, and it wouldn't make me unhappy if that never happened. So you don't want to include everything, but think about the things that really matter to you. I want to write a YA book, and it may not be the need that I have today, but it's something that I should put on that list. So your needs are absolute yeses, your wants are your maybes, and your can'ts are absolute nos. And all you got to do is create 3 columns. Super easy, and you can do it for anything in your life. Flowcharts and diagrams are simply simplified drawings showing the appearance, structure, order, or workings of something. So if you think about a flowchart, it's really just how does this work? A diagram is just how does it work? It's a visualization, simplified visualization of how something works. And the goal of flowcharts and diagrams is to figure out where things fit kind of in this grand scheme, or they're also really good to figure out what to do next. So I like to use flowcharts and diagrams for any logic-based problems I have, anything around my business, anything planning. What if scenarios are great for flowcharts? So if this happened, what would happen? If we did this instead, what would happen? Which one gets me better to my end result? It's a great way to think through consequences and visualize outcomes. Is a really good way to give kind of a critical analysis. So say you go and do the mantra and your heart's all full and you're feeling all this stuff, then you can come here and really analyze critically a situation. I use this constantly in building my business. And I also use this as a way to explain my ideas to other people. So a perfect example of that is this is the Journal Through It action plan, part of my Journal Through It course. So I wanted to figure out, okay, if an obstacle comes into my life, how am I going to handle it through journaling? How am I going to tackle this through journaling? How am I going to tackle it in general? And so this is where I created the flow chart, the things that I'm going to do. So first, I'm going to establish a hierarchy of needs, then I'm going to gather background information, then use resources and test remedies, reflect and reevaluate, create a maintenance plan. So I have this flow chart that I've created. So if something happens, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or an obstacle comes my way, I can go down this list in order, this flow chart, this diagram that I have here, this visualization of what to do next. And I created this when I was out of crisis so I could access it when I'm feeling crazy. And that's the point of my Journal Through It course, to help people access journaling through their hard times, through this action plan that they create during a good time. So here are some other examples of flowcharts and diagrams. So places I do and don't like to be touched. This is something that I like to do with new partners. So I'm like, okay, here's the body, red, yellow, green. Where are places that you love for me to touch you? That's green. I can touch you there almost any time. You're going to be happy. But yellow's like you kind of have to be in a mood or safe or comfortable or really feeling good about yourself to touch yellow spots. And red are, no, this is like a ticklish point for me, or this is a difficult point for me, or it's a painful point for me, or something I just really don't want to have touched. So this is an example of a diagram. You have the body diagram and you're creating this kind of very simplified drawing to explain a concept, slightly loaded concept of being where you want to be touched. And it's a great way to take something emotional and make it more simplified and obvious for you and your partner. I love decision-making flowcharts, and you can make them for anything. And I found this one on Pinterest that's like, should I go to work or school? And it's like, nope, Colin's sick. Okay, finally go. And I love this because it allows some playfulness and some excitement and some colors and some pop to it all, but it also gives you, if you make a flowchart or a diagram, it's a really great way to make decisions for yourself. And so you can create these during hard decision times. And I love seeing these kind of flowcharts for self-care. So do you feel like getting out of bed? No. Okay. Do you want to read a book or watch a movie? No. Okay, just lay in bed and go back to sleep. Do you feel like getting out of bed? Yes. Can you make it to the couch? Yes. Do you want to leave the house? No. That kind of thing. So I create these flowcharts and diagrams for me to use on days when I'm having a rough time. The third example is the famous Venn diagram, where you take two topics and see where they overlap. And this is one of my favorite. I try to create my job, and I coach people in creating their careers around what your skills and experiences are and what your goals, wishes, and dreams are, and where those overlap. And where those overlap, that's the job for you. And so these are all really small diagrams here, but you can make them as big or as large. So this Venn diagram would have to be really big. What are your skills and experiences? What are your goals and dreams? And then what jobs fit in the middle of them? So I love diagrams because they help take this really complex concept and make it a lot more easy and simplified. Now, how to make them? They're kind of hard because there's so many different ways in which you can make them, so sometimes that can feel overwhelming. So for a flowchart, you want to pick a starting point and then work through each step to the ending points until you feel like you got a final resolution or an answer. For a diagram, you simply just want to logically break down a problem. Now, flowcharts and diagrams are whole courses on this. So if you want to delve more into this, I highly suggest just Googling flowchart or diagram, and so many ideas and images will come up. Pinterest has some great ones. Set a timer, because you may just go way too long in the Google search and you'll end up on Facebook for hours and hours and feeling crappy about yourself. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. So set a timer, give yourself 15 minutes to get some ideas from Google and go from there, because sometimes it's really hard to spend all your time on the structure. So you can download flowcharts and diagrams that the structure's already there for you and you just have to place it in. So our next type of journaling is visioning and sketching, which is similar to flowcharts, but a lot more artistic, not as simplistic. So the idea behind visioning and sketching is simply using images to express yourself or to visualize an outcome. The goal is to bring your imagination to life, which is why this is one of my favorite ones. I love this thinking, this imagination, this imaginative world where all your dreams come true, and trying to visualize what that would look like coming to life. And it's a great way to express your creative self. So if you feel like your creative self is really stagnant or is dying for attention, visioning and sketching is a great journal technique for that. It is great for removing creative blocks, bringing your imagination to life, the times you don't have words to explain yourself. Sometimes you don't know what you want to say, but you can color it out. And it really is a great way to see your future and see what you think that you want this future that you're heading towards to be. A great way for visioning and sketching are vision boards. And what I like to do is vision what prosperity looks like to me, or what a certain topic looks like to me. So when I get caught up in having too much money, or I'm not making enough, or I don't have enough followers, or there's not enough people that like me, or that certain tag didn't get this, or whatever thing I'm measuring myself up to, especially in regards to my career, I think about what prosperity and what success looks like to me. And to me, that's being able to travel. That's why I have the world there. Keeping my heart, keeping soul in the work that I do, writing books, reading books, having my own little garden plot. I love to garden. I love to be able to grow my own food. And if possible, I'd love to have that in my life. People to share it with, the people that I love around me. I love to go camping and being in the outdoors, and I like to have kind of a safety nest and a safety jacket, a buffer to help me when the times are hard. And so this is what prosperity looks like to me. This is just a sketch, of visualization of what that is. I could also do what I want to my life to be like 5 years from now, what I imagine my next book to look like. The visioning and sketching can be anything that you need to visualize, anything that you can't put into words, but you have this thought in your head of what it would look like, putting it down on paper. That's visioning and sketching. So how do you do that? Well, I like to start with just closing my eyes and then envisioning the question, problem, or idea I have. So I'd close my eyes and be like, what does it mean to be successful? And let those images come up in my brain and try to recreate those images on the page. And then I also like to think about what the solution is. So if it's a question, what's the solution? So I'm lonely. What's the solution? And I get this image of what it would look like to not be lonely. And I write that down, I sketch it down, I draw it, I look up pictures that look like it. I do whatever I can to bring that image to life. And that is one of my favorite things to do. And I know a lot of people swear by vision boards and visioning. And I think that it's a really important way to put feelings instead of items on your list. This is one of my favorite ways to start out with journaling, to get this idea that's a lot more concrete that I don't have the words for yet and put it on the page. And this is a really great way to aim for your goals, because if you create a vision board or if you create a sketch or if you create something that looks like what you want, you can start knowing what you're heading towards instead of just running wildly in every direction, which we all tend to do. So the next type of journaling we have is word clouds. And it's a random listing of words you associate with a thing, feeling, person, etc. I'm sure you've seen them on the internet or done them in school. Word clouds are one of the most popular ways that people journal. The goal is to clarify your feelings and thoughts on a specific topic. So word clouds are really great because they allow you to just kind of dump everything that you're thinking about on a certain topic onto a page, and you're allowed to kind of feel out, put your kind of emotional feelers out for what you think about a topic. They're great for clarifying your feelings, organizing your thoughts, figuring out a backstory or history you have with a topic. So if I feel like I'm blocked around something, a word cloud is a great way for me to come up with random associations that I have with it that I may not realize that I have. So a great example of that is sex. This is a really loaded thing. So if you're feeling guarded around sex, you can create a word cloud around it. So what do you think? Like potentially harmful, unsafe. Maybe you've had a sexual assault. Maybe you're afraid you're bad at it. You're self-conscious. Maybe you think that you're not worthy of it, or you are worthy of it, or it's dirty, or it's fun, or you're nervous, or you're aroused, vulnerable. Whatever comes up for you around this topic, write it down. And again, like I said earlier, this is to supplement therapy, not to make up for therapy. Sometimes these word cloud associations can bring up things that you didn't realize were there until you start doing this association. So make sure that if that happens, you take it to your therapist and you talk about it in there. This is a really great thing to do along with EMDR or other kind of like brain therapies that people do around associations and memories. So I love word clouds for that. So how do you make a word cloud? It's really simple. You just put a topic in the middle of a page or the top of the page, and then you just write everything you associate with it around it. That could be love, it can be sex, it can be anything that you associate with it. It's so easy and so simple, yet really, really impactful. So those are the most effective types of journaling. And what is the most effective type of all of those effective types of journaling? Whatever works for you. It is so important to just find what sounds fun and good for you. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. Listen to what your body gets excited about trying. So now it's time to try this. I want you to go pick 2 to 3 types of journaling that excited you when we went through. 2 to 3 types that made you excited and you thought, oh, hey, I want to go try that. Maybe it's just one type. Go and try it. One thing, one type that excited you, and then go do it. I'll be here when you're done. Come back and let me know what you thought of your journaling type.